Hello one and all, and welcome along to the EuroFantasyLeague Podcast. We're back once again with your roundup of the Premier League, La Liga and Serie A. And this is going to be like the last Premier League roundup of the season, this is, so it's come round very quickly. And by we, of course, I'm talking about myself, Jamie McLean, and I'm joined once again by David Fennick. All right there, Dave.
All right, Jamie.
You keeping well?
Not too bad, not too bad.
Champion. Well, let's get cracking with the show then. Yes, welcome along, as I say, to the EuroFantasyLeague Podcast, and this is where we bring you your fortnightly update on the Premier League, La Liga and Serie A. So this should be a bit of fun, this one, Dave, because we've actually got a bit of an end of season wrap up to go here. It's not the last episode of the season, but the Premier League's finished, isn't it? Yeah,
Premier League's gone, but I'm going to start in Serie A, if that's all right with you, mate.
Oh, yes, of course. We'll get cracking straight away. Let's go for it.
Yep. Juventus claiming their seventh consecutive title.
I know. It's an amazing start, isn't it?
It is. I think at the beginning of the season, everyone's thinking, well, I think Roma might run them close. Napoli might do it. This and
Napoli,
that.
Of course.
That's their seventh consecutive title. And that was also after winning their fourth consecutive Coppa Italia during the week when they hammered AC Milan in the cup final.
I know they're kind of making a mockery of it all at the moment, aren't they, with how much they're actually winning. I know.
I mean, it was a drab goalless draw that got them the point that was needed as they drew 0-0 away at Roma.
Yeah, that's right, and that puts them, of course, 4 points clear now of Napoli, because Napoli did win, but they needed Juventus to lose in order to stay in the race. So that as you say,
it's all over. Basically, the only thing at the top of the league that's to be decided is third and fourth.
Third and fourth, yeah. That's right. Well, even then,
Roma and Lazio,
Roma are guaranteed a finish in the top four. Lazio 3 points clear of Inter Milan with one game left to play. But Lazio have got the better goal difference as well as that 3 point advantage. So you would quite fancy Lazio to secure that fourth place, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you would think so. Other results, Benevento, I mean, it's too late. Again, we've said that for a few weeks. Beat Genoa 1-0. Inter lost at home to Sassuolo 2-1. Crotone and Lazio played out a 2-2 draw. Udinese won 1-0 at Verona. Cagliari won 1-0 at Fiorentina. And our friends at Spal, they're right back in the relegation, losing 2-1 at Torino, and they led until midway through the second half.
Yeah, no, that's right. And as you say, that means that Crotone's draw means that Crotone and Spal are both on 35 now. So, I mean, Spal have only got a 3 better goal difference. Sorry, Dave.
The teams that are still in it, Crotone, Spain, Cagliari, Udinese and Chievo.
Yeah.
The only saving grace, I think, for Spal is that Crotone shouldn't get another point as they're away at Napoli on the last day of the season.
Yeah.
So if Napoli manage to beat them, it'll be as the bottom of the league stands now, with Benevento relegated, Verona relegated, and Crotone stay on 35 points. But you never know in football, do you?
Well, you don't. I mean, let's just say, for argument's sake, Crotone, say they lose 1-0 at Spal. But then, not at Spal, at Napoli. But then Spal get beaten 5-0. Then suddenly that all goes a little bit backwards for Spal there. But yeah, again, you would sort of think that Crotone, for all it's all level on points, that's a big ask to get anything at Napoli, isn't it?
Yeah. Other results were Bologna 1, Chievo 2, and Giaccherini on the score sheet for Chievo.
Giaccherini and old Palavao was there.
Yes, definitely. And Atalanta 1, Milan 1. So that was a draw. It was also a draw on the red card stakes, as both had a man sent off.
Yeah.
And Napoli went to Sampdoria and won 2-0.
Yeah, well, that's it. And I've just going back to what you said a few moments ago, though, Crotone getting the draw with Lazio. That's an incredible result for Crotone, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean,
almost beggars belief, really. That
2-2 draw. Yeah, and it's given them a bit of a sniff, but hopefully, I shouldn't say hopefully, because we might have some Crotone supporters listening in. But it's I think Napoli, you fancy them to do the business.
Yeah, you would certainly think so. For all the, as you say, out of the title race now, they've still got to play for it, haven't they? I mean, you just think if Juventus slip up in that final game and Napoli win, all right, they can't win the league, but that gap is so much smaller. You know, it just makes them feel they're going to have got that much closer.
Bottom, not so at the top, and Inter can't catch Lazio really. That would equal the total of points to 72, but the 6 goals behind.
Yeah, you would need a 6 or 7 goal swing and Lazio to lose and Inter to win for there to be any chance. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, definitely. So that's the roundup from Serie A. Do we want to move on to the Premier League?
We can do. Yes, absolutely.
Okay. All right then. So Burnley 1, Bournemouth 2. Bournemouth 1-0 down in that game, but came back to claim all 3 points. Arsene Wenger's last game against Huddersfield. Arsenal went to Huddersfield, won 1-0. Huddersfield was safe during the week. Yeah. And Wenger's last game, Arsenal managed to get a victory. What's your views on Arsene Wenger, Jamie, over the years?
I think obviously he deserves a lot of respect, just purely, the length of time he's had at a club the size of Arsenal, reminiscent to Sir Alex Ferguson, get well soon to Sir Alex Ferguson, of course, as well, might just say at that juncture. I've got a lot of respect for him. I do think he maybe hung on a bit too long, though.
Too long.
Yeah, I think he was trying to recapture. Yeah, I think he just tried to recapture those sort of early 2000s glory days, you know, when they were, literally unbeatable at one point. And it just wasn't quite working for him. But I do like the fact that even the Wenger out brigade have treated him largely with a lot of respect. Yeah, so I think it's a shame in the sense that it's the end of an era, but I think it's a good thing because it possibly should have happened, you know, a few years ago. But no, I think Wenger will always be held in high regard, not just at Arsenal, but in the footballing world in general. I know he's not talking about retiring, he's talking about staying in the sport in one capacity or another. But no, I think fair play to him. I think he did a really, really good job and he definitely earned the respect that he got.
Okay, moving on. West Ham 3, Everton 1. Lanzini scoring twice for the Hammers.
Yep.
Southampton, Man City scored a very late goal, 94th minute, when Gabriel Jesus got their winner down on the south coast.
Yeah.
Liverpool 4, Brighton 0. Salah scoring the first goal.
Of course.
So he's player. I think we're going to have an end of season roundup. I believe it's next week or something. But Salah, to me, he's player of the season for me.
Yeah, I think the right man won it. I think I wrote an article on EuroFantasyLeague.com actually saying that Salah should have been the man to get it, because obviously at the time you would have fancied Kevin De Bruyne purely on the season Man City have had and his contribution there. But yeah, I think Salah was definitely a worthy. He's a fantastic player. He's had
a brilliant season, yeah. Spurs 5, Leicester 4. Harry Kane scoring twice for Spurs and Jamie Vardy scoring twice for Leicester.
Yeah.
Man United 1, Watford 0. Marcus Rashford on the score sheet. Be interesting to see if he's still at Old Trafford next season. Hasn't started that many games and might go elsewhere for regular football.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say it was nice to see him getting on the score sheet because he's someone you would sort of quite fancy to do a good job for England moving forward, not just this summer, but in future tournaments. And like you say, he hasn't quite had as much game time as you would have thought this season.
Palace 2, West Brom 0. Zaha and Van Arnold. Van Arnold chips it in with his goals, doesn't he?
Well, do you know, he did that at Sunderland as well, though. He would, at one point, I think I was joking on that it should be a law that Patrick Van Arnold should not be allowed to shoot because he just kept missing. And then all of a sudden, he just started knocking them in, week out from left back. Okay. And he's been doing that at Palace as well.
Yeah. Good result for Newcastle. Beat Chelsea 3-0. Jose Perez scoring twice and Dwight Gale scoring the other one.
Yeah,
Stoke City went to Swansea. Swansea led 1-0 and then Stoke scored 2 and Peter Crouch on the score sheet again in the Premier League.
Get him on the plane. Take him to Russia.
Has that sun affected you this afternoon?
Oh, quite possibly, I think so.
Yeah. So the table anyway, Manchester City on 100 points, Man United 81, Spurs 77, Liverpool 75, Chelsea 70. And at the bottom, West Brom 31, Stoke 33, Swansea 33, and Southampton 36. So 36 points kept you safe in the Premier League this year.
Yeah, that's quite a low total to be safe with as well, considering West Ham once were relegated on, was it 42 or 44 points or something like that?
Sunderland were relegated on 42.
Yeah, that's right. But, West Ham, funnily enough, have finished on 42 this season. Nice to see Mark Hughes keeping Southampton up, though, and his former club Stoke going down. Yeah, I think so. I quite like Mark Hughes. I'm not a huge fan of him as a manager necessarily, but I quite like Mark Hughes. Yeah.
While I mentioned Man City getting 100 points, they've also broke 12 records this year on the pitch. Do you want us to tell you them?
I know a couple of them off the top of my head, but yeah.
The most points, obviously, 100 points.
Yep.
Most wins, 32.
Yep.
Most goals, 106.
Yep.
Least amount of time behind in a game.
Oh, that's a good one. I wasn't aware of that one.
They were only behind for 153 minutes in the whole season.
That's amazing. Less than 2 games.
Less than 2 games. Well, less than 2 games. Yeah.
Very good.
Most away wins, 16.
Okay.
Most away points, 50.
That's a good figure as well.
Best goal difference, plus 79.
Yeah, plus 79. I got that there.
Most consecutive wins, 18.
Yeah.
Biggest points gap to second place,
19. Is that the biggest
19,
title winning difference, is it?
And the next 3 that they've broke the records in the Premiership all happened in one game. Most passes, this will probably amaze you, most passes attempted in a match, 1,015
wow.
v Swansea on April the 22nd.
I remember that being talked about, but I hadn't realised it was that high.
Yeah, well, that's most passes attempted, completed 942, which is a pass completion rate. I sound like I should be on that. Is it Countdown, that program?
Your mastermind, yeah.
Yeah. Completed 942 passes in the same game, which is percentage-wise 92.8%.
I was going to guess at 91%. I didn't think that was bad mental arithmetic.
And the final one, most possession in a game, in the same game against Swansea, 82.95%.
Yeah, they've
smashed records all over.
Yeah, they have. The only one, again, another article I've written that I think's going online, or it might have gone online by the time this episode goes out, actually.
Well, I've copyrighted all them, so you can't use them.
Well, I didn't say that. What I actually said was one that they didn't get was they couldn't quite match Arsenal's unbeaten season.
Right, yeah.
So,
and talking about unbeaten in a season, we'll quickly move on to La Liga.
Yeah, Barcelona.
Yeah, good link up. Yeah, amazing result at Levante.
Yeah.
As Barcelona's 44-match unbeaten run came to an end. So they were unbeaten at the back end of the previous season, then they were unbeaten for 37 in this campaign.
Yeah.
Messi rested, which was a bit of a talking point.
Yeah.
And they would have been the first side in La Liga history to end a season unbeaten.
Yeah, I know they would have done. And also, I've got a little stat about their result as well. It's only the second time that Levante have ever beaten them.
Right. Good start.
First time was a 5-1 win in October 1964.
Right.
So there you go.
And Emmanuel Boateng scored 3, the Ghanaian.
Yep.
And Coutinho got 3 for Barcelona, but all in vain as Levante won 5-4.
It's always horrible to see a player get a hat-trick and end up on the losing side as well.
Yeah.
I think the first time I saw that was Dwight York when he was at Aston Villa back in the late 90s, and I couldn't get my head around it then, and I still can't today.
And Real Madrid hammered Celta Vigo 6-0.
Yep.
Bale got 2. Espanyol beat Malaga 4-1. Real Sociedad beat Leganés 3-2. Alaves beat Atletico Bilbao 3-1. Eibar beat Las Palmas 1-0. Atletico Madrid went to Getafe and won 1-0, as did Valencia at Girona. And Deportivo 2, Villarreal 4. And finally, Real Betis 2, Seville 2. So top of the league, it's been sorted out for weeks. Barcelona 90, Atletico Madrid on 78 points, Real Madrid on 75, and their goal difference is much better than Atletico Madrid.
It's so about 14 better
them.
off. Yeah.
And then at the bottom, that was sorted out weeks ago. Malaga, 20 points. Las Palmas, 22. And Deportivo, 29. All relegated.
That's right. And did you say Real Betis and Sevilla got a draw, which I believe secured a top six finish? Draw. Top six finish for Real Betis. That secured that, I believe. That result did. So, yeah, the top six now cannot be caught. I know there's only one game left. So that's your
roundup from Serie A, La Liga and the Premier League.
Well, that's very good. Now, I do want to have a little chat about something that you touched on there, Lionel Messi getting left out of the team. I'm not going to go down the obvious route of, is that why Barcelona lost? Because I don't believe it is. But why was he left out?
I think a bit of pressure from the Argentinian FA, I would say.
I wondered if you were going to say that, yeah.
He's had a bit of a hamstring, or reportedly a hamstring. So, the World Cup coming on. But to me, I don't agree with it at all. Barcelona pays wages, and for me, it's always club before country.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. That's kind of why I asked the question, has he been left out there with one eye on the World Cup coming up in the summer? Not Barcelona's problem, really. I get that there's going to be political connections and all of that. I get all of that. But I think the Barcelona fans have been a bit hard done to there, which I know it sounds a bit weird given the season they haven't, but yeah, I know it's their choice. I'm not too sure I agree with it, to be honest.
Yeah, and as I've said, club before country for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree with you there. Now then, I had another little talking point from the Premier League, but we'll moved on before we really had a chance to talk about that.
With it.
Obviously, we've got the World Cup coming up. I don't know if you've heard, just this little event going on in Russia this summer. And England's midfield, there's been a bit of chatter that I've been listening to regarding Jack Wilshere. Now, whether or not he warrants a place on the plane. And I just wanted to get your opinion on Jack Wilshere and whether you
My opinion, certainly not.
No.
He's only had 12 Premiership starts, of which 8 were in December, 4 were in January. End of. Jack Wilshere should not go to Russia.
He shouldn't. No, I would totally agree with that. He's had a very subdued season. 12 starts, 8 appearances as a substitute, so 20 in total. Looking just purely at the EuroFantasyLeague game, he's managed 18 points and he's valued at 7.5 million. That shows you right there, not great value. But it also shows you there are a lot of players out there, not really even in the reckoning, that are probably more worthy of a place. You know?
And I haven't got this about Jack Wilshere even over the years, I think he's a very hyped up footballer.
Well, see, I think he's a quality player. I do like him as a player, but I just don't see what he could offer England this year, given the lack of game time. He's not going to be sharp. You've got someone like John Joe Shelvey just going up the road to Newcastle. Yes, all right, a bit temperamental sometimes, and, his conduct maybe is not always great on the pitch, but he can pick a pass out, can't he? And he can dictate play.
I think to compare Wilshere and Shelvey is a bit unfair, man, because the two totally different players.
They are different players.
Wilshere will run at people, commit people. Shelvey doesn't do that. He picks passes up and can hit diagonals, left, right, and given time he can hurt people by playing the killer pass. But you mentioned that you think Wilshere's a quality player, but how often does it happen?
Yeah, well, I was going to say on his day. I should have put that little caveat there. On his day, you do see flashes of it.
How many times does he play? He doesn't play
that's
regular
the problem.
football.
That's the problem. I mean, you do see flashes of it is more what I was getting at. I'm not saying that throw him in there, you're going to get a quality performance, because you don't know that that's the case at all. Certainly not like you do with some players, but it's just a shame because there are the flashes there. And I thought when he went to Bournemouth on loan last season, I thought that's a great signing for Bournemouth. But he's just never seemed to quite hit that level, To me, he's one of these players that flatters to deceive. Yeah, quite possibly. That's quite possibly a very fair assumption, that is, Dave. So, yes, I think that's kind of covered up the general goings on quite nicely, actually, quite early on in the episode as well. We've covered the title wins, the relegations. So one other thing I want to talk about, any managerial changes that you can see, because obviously Arsene Wenger's finished at Arsenal now. Who can you see going there? Do you see Conte still being at Chelsea next year? What's your sort of take on the management positions this summer?
I think Conte might be heading back to Italy. I think I've said that maybe on. I think it was our first show, actually.
I think it was the second one when you were talking to Susie. Yeah, our second episode. Yeah, I remember that.
I think he might be heading back to Italy because he clearly looks like he doesn't want to be in West London.
Yeah, definitely. And are there
Arsenal manager? I think Newcastle have got to be careful. If Mike Ashley doesn't back their manager, you never know. He might end up there.
Right, can I just say, you would almost think we discussed this beforehand, and we genuinely didn't. I've got on my notes down here, could Rafa Benitez be a good choice?
Yeah, well, the ball's in Mike Ashley's court now, isn't it? So if he doesn't back Rafa, he's going to be away, and it wouldn't just be him going, the fans all love him there, so, it would be absolute disaster for Newcastle if Rafa Benitez ended up.
He would, I mean...
the Emirates, so Mike Ashley's got to be very careful, but... Mike Ashley's history, he likes to be controversial, doesn't he?
He does. And I mean, I was listening to a certain radio talk show at the weekend, and there was a Newcastle fan on there that was saying, oh no, Benitez won't be going anywhere, he loves it here, which I quite believe he does. He does genuinely seem to love it at Newcastle. But the problem is, if a job like the Arsenal job, chance to replace Arsene Wenger, came up, he could well go there, and it wouldn't surprise me to maybe see him take someone like Jamal Lascelles along with him, maybe even John Joe Shelby. I don't know in that instance, but I think that could be quite a worry for Newcastle fans if that's going to be a potential scenario coming up, because as you say, they'll love him there. And you don't really want to see, I know they're rival to us on a personal level and all that, but you don't really want to see any club lose a manager that they think so highly of, So we'll have to see. Another good suggestion was, I forget who it was. It was suggested by Robbie Savage, and that made perfect sense as well. But one of the Bundesliga, a young manager in the Bundesliga. I'll try and find his name.
Hoffenheim or something?
Yes, I think it was Hoffenheim. Yeah,
he's only fourth place or something.
Yeah, he's only 30 years old as well.
Yeah. And, I don't know too much about him, to be fair, Jim.
No, I don't. But just from what little I've sort of read and heard about, it just seemed to make sense. And that's, I'm just trying to think of his name. Julian Nagelsmann, I believe it is.
I don't know where I plucked the Hoffenheim from, because...
I don't know either, but
right.
Yeah, you were. It's Julian Nagelsmann at Hoffenheim. You're quite right, and he's certainly got a good reputation. He's been at Hoffenheim a couple of years, and he could be one to look at. If not now, maybe is the next one down the line, which you could argue is the position you want to be when you're looking at replacing someone like Arsene Wenger. You don't want to be the man to replace him. You want to be the man to replace the man who replaced him. I think the saying goes.
You're confusing me now.
But there we go. So I think that does for the roundup now, Dave, to be honest. So we'll go for a quick break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to have a look finally at the weekend winners and the best 11 of the weekend, and I've got a little Easter egg in there for you that hopefully you'll be quite happy with. So right. We'll see you when we get back. So right, Dave, welcome back, of course, from our nice little break there, and we're going to do the bit that we normally do at the start. We're going to throw that in there now. We've got the weekend winners and the best 11, which I think you're going to be particularly happy with on the best 11 this weekend.
Have you sorted your back four out?
I'm not telling you what I've done, but I think you'll be quite happy with it, although you might not, because I've gone a little bit unorthodox as far as formation goes, but it might make your OCD suffer a little bit, but if you just suspend your disbelief, you'll be quite happy with it. So, right, the weekend winners. The first one that we've gone for is Philippe Coutinho at Barcelona.
Yep,
for all they've ended up on the losing side, of course, at Levante, but Coutinho personally, he scored in their 5-1 win over Villarreal. He hit the hat-trick, as I say, as they lost at Levante. So it's unfortunate that they've lost that game and they've missed out on that record, but Coutinho's had a good couple of outings there, so I thought he could go in there as a week winner.
Totally agree with you, mate.
So there we go. And then the other one is another player in that game who you touched on earlier on, Boateng. at Levante. 7 million he's worth, 13 points. That hat-trick against Barcelona. And I've just got down there, what a match, historic night, but I mentioned that earlier on. I kind of jumped the gun a bit about that being only the second time they've ever beaten Barcelona. So, really good showing, and I just thought Boateng deserved it, being a hat-trick. I think that makes 5 hat-trick scorers in a row, technically. But because we had all 3 in the last episode, didn't we? But we're going to bring an end to that run now in typical England style, because we've thrown Jamie Vardy in there. Right. Again, came out on the losing side, but he did well because he scored in the win against Arsenal. And got
2 more for Jamie Vardy. How many's actually got this season? Have you got them?
Jamie Vardy, I can certainly bring it up in 2. I did mean to bring that up earlier on, actually. How he done,
because he had a bit of a lull and he seemed to come again, you know.
Yeah, that's right. He did. He's not had a bad season. That was something else I wanted to talk to you about earlier on, actually, about whether Vardy should be a backup to Harry Kane for England or whether he could be a partner for him. I don't know what you feel about that.
Me, I think he could be a partner for him, because I think Vardy runs the channels, doesn't he? You know, and
he does, and he's not afraid to go out wide.
I think he's quicker than Kane, you know.
Yeah,
but
he's got a good eye for goal, but a good eye for a pass. I think that could make a good strike partnership there. So Jamie Vardy's got 20 goals in the league this season.
You know, is that all in the Premier League? Is it?
I believe that's yes, right. That's the Premier League goal scoring charts.
That's
Jamie
a good
Vardy.
Total. If you can score 20 goals in the Premier League, it's no mean feat.
No, that's right. He was the 4th top scorer, 163 minutes per goal. So that's more than a goal in every 2 games.
Right. So good start.
Yeah, so that's not bad there. So Jamie Vardy, I think, pretty worthy of going in there for a week winner. For all, it'll likely be the last Premier League one, obviously, because the Premier League's finished and we've got 1 episode left to go before the end of the season. So it's going to be entirely Serie and La Liga next time.
So, and a roundup, though.
And a roundup, of course. And if there's been any big news, like managerial changes between now and then in the Premier League, we won't exclude the Premier League, but there'll not be as much as there normally is. And speaking of which, there's a lot of Premier League players in this best 11 as well, I'm not going to lie to you. So shall we get cracking on with that then straight away? In goal, Loris Karius at Liverpool. It's the same old story with the goalkeepers. There's so many who kept the clean sheet, but Loris Karius would only set you back 2 million. So I just thought...
I mean, him and Simon Mignolet are the sort of vied for that starting spot at Anfield, and, you know, they've both got the critics, you know, and they've both got the supporters, and me, I can't really call it. It'd be interesting for any Liverpool fans to email us or tweet in or whatever and say, like, what's their views on Karius or Mignolet, you know? Yeah,
that's a good point. Yeah, any Liverpool fans that are listening, do get in touch. Well, it's a chat I would like to have, actually, because Mignolet is a player that I thought he'd do really well when he went to Liverpool, and he's kind of struggled a little bit
I
at
think
times.
Both good keepers, though, as I've said, have struggled at times. So maybe Liverpool could do with signing a new keeper in the summer. Maybe that somebody wants to tweet us about.
Yeah, no, definitely do get in touch. EuroFantasyPod on the Twitter, or you can email us EuroFantasyPod@gmail.com if you're a Liverpool fan and you want to let us know what you think of the goalkeeping situation at Anfield. So, right, in defence then, here we go. Are you keeping track here?
Right, I am.
Right, I've got Patrick Van Aanholt again.
Left back, you love a left back, man. I know you might have got your defence sorted out, but you always like to say them first.
I know. It's just I work left to right. I do the same thing when I'm doing the expected lineups on EuroFantasyLeague.com as well. I always, because in that one you just list the players. You don't, not top to bottom. You just list them on the horizontal, and I always start on the left and work my way right. So Patrick Van Aanholt, Crystal Palace, 2 million, 11 points, goal, clean sheet, assist in the 2-0 win against West Brom.
Yeah, he's done well. He's a good player going forward, and you know, he's a modern day, I would say, fullback, wing-back, call him what you want.
I think he's great.
Sometimes gets caught out a bit defensively, but going forward, and he can finish.
I was going to say, he's always going to get caught out defensively now and again, though, when you spend as much time going forward as he does.
Yeah,
you know, and I just think he's great, and he's just knocking the goals in, like you say, and I think he's been in that team 2 or 3 weeks in a row now.
Not too keen on his haircut, man.
No, it looks a little bit dodgy, but that's for our other podcast, the fashion podcast, that one, I think, Dave. So, right, there's Patrick Van Aanholt. Now, in defence. Joining him, Eric Bailly at Man United.
Bailly,
yes, 2 million, 10 points. 2 clean sheets in the games against West Ham and Watford.
That's decent. You can't argue with that, can you? So where have you got him playing centre-half?
Yes, indeed, I have.
That's good. That's good.
I wanted to put a little section down here, actually, notable mentions, other players who've maybe got more points, but wouldn't have featured in like the perfect 11 that you've been wanting to go for. So
right,
there we go.
Carry on then.
You're doing well. Also got Dejan Lovren.
Another centre-half.
Yeah, at Liverpool, 7 million, 9 points. Goal clean sheet in the 4-0 win against Brighton.
You're going to get a manager's job, eh? If you can add a right back to this back four.
Right back, Paolo Maldini. No, I'm only joking. The right back is Danilo at Man City.
Right.
7.5 million, 9 points. Clean sheet in that 1-0 win at Southampton.
There you go. There's your back four.
There were other defenders that had more points, and that sort of grated on me while I was doing it because it's just the best 11.
You thought you'd keep me happy.
I wanted to. I know you've been asking me pretty much all season to do that, so I thought, well, all right.
You've done very well. Thanks very much.
Thank you. So, right, in midfield, we've got Gareth Bale at Real Madrid.
Yep.
13 million,
Is he going to
10
stay
points. There? What, at Real Madrid? I think quite possibly. I know there's always been a lot of talk saying he could be on his way to Man United. I wouldn't be shocked to see Man City being linked with him, maybe. But
I think he likes the lifestyle Bale out there, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think so. And that's another problem. Again, an article I've got going out tomorrow. I've just not long finished writing it. Talking about...
Is this a big plug here?
It's not a big plug, no. It's not a particularly... I mean, I'm proud of every article I write, but it's just it kind of touches on little bits that we've talked about today. Man City, where I've just mentioned he could be linked there. How are they going to improve? You know, what can they really do to improve?
Do they have to?
Well, this is the thing. Do they have to? But if they don't, and then they get caught next season...
if you're winning the league by that total, I don't think you've got to tweak too much, do you?
Well, I don't know. I'm not sure. Possibly not. But I do also think that, bearing in mind other teams are going to strengthen, do you want to run the risk of that gap being big enough?
Yeah, but other teams might try and strengthen, bring in other players, and that'll take time for them to settle this and that. In City, you've already got it there.
Yeah, it's a fair point. That's not an approach I thought about, actually. I must be honest. Yeah, good point. Anyway, back to the best 11. Yep. So we've got Gareth Bale on the left. Okay. Then we've got Manuel Lanzini, an attacking midfielder, in there for West Ham. 7.5 million, 10 points. That was from the clean sheet in the goalless draw against Man United and the brace in that 3-1 win against Everton.
Yeah, he's done well. I think he's been injured for a good chunk of the season, but Lanzini, he's
another one that hasn't. Yeah, he is. He's not always quite seemed to hit the heights that you would have fancied from him as well. But again, really good player, good solid player for West Ham to have. And he's joined in midfield by Riyad Mahrez, another attacking midfielder.
Yeah, I like this team, man.
Yeah.
Certainly pay money to watch this.
Tell you what, Leicester 10 million, 11 points. He scored the goal, lost one for the booking in the 3-1 win against Arsenal. Goal and the 2 assists against Spurs. So he's. I think he was actually in there on merit based on the number of points anyway. And then rounding off the midfield, Philippe Coutinho.
Yeah, what a midfield that is.
There you go.
I don't know how many people would be tracking back, mind. I think you just have to keep the ball and go forward for 90 minutes.
With Eric Bailly and Dejan Lovren. Sorry, I couldn't even keep a straight face there, talking about Dejan Lovren being a solid defender, but he's done well lately. So yes, Philippe Coutinho there, making up the midfield, and up front, the 2 strikers that we've already had in the weekend winners. We've got Boateng and Jamie Vardy.
Yep.
So, and we've already said spoke about them. Yep. So there we go. That's the best 11 just about done, and I think that just about wraps this episode up as well, Dave, doesn't it?
Yep.
Oh yeah, the name game was Robbie Fowler, by the way. I forgot to give you any of the clues, so yeah, it was Robbie Fowler, just for the...
Well, I can't guess without the clues, man.
No, I know, but I know you were saying give us a week off. I was going to throw them in anyway, and then I forgot, so yeah, it was Robbie Fowler, so there we go. I'll give you the win on that one. And so please do remember to check out EuroFantasyLeague.com and the league-specific games, fantasy-liga.com, fantasyserie.com, and fantasy eurofantasy-premier.com. And as Dave pointed out, you can get in touch with us on social media, whether you're a Liverpool fan or not, of course, but that's something we do want to hear about. We're on Twitter at EuroFantasyPod. I'm on there at JamClean1984. Dave, you're there at Davy Fennick, aren't you?
Yes, at Davy Fennick. Plain and simple.
Plain and simple. And I'm not going to add anything to that. I had to bite my tongue, but I stopped it. You can email us, eurofantasypod@gmail.com, and we will do our very best to get back to you. We're on all the usual podcast platforms as well, of course, iTunes or Apple Podcasts, Acast, Stitcher, TuneIn, Podcast Addict, Google Play Music, Spotify, YouTube. We're now on iHeartRadio as well, so check us out if you're on iHeartRadio as well. And if you could just do us a favour, especially with the end of the season approaching, if you can just bear 2 minutes just to leave us ideally a 5-star rating. You can do 4 if you like. We'll still be your friend if you do 4, but a 5 would be ideal. And if you could just leave us a quick review as well, then the more of those we've got, the more likely people are to have a little listen. And the more interaction we can have, the more players we can get on EuroFantasyLeague.com. So please do us a favour and do EuroFantasyLeague.com a favour. Just drop a 5-star rating and a quick review on there. That would be fantastic. And also do remember to check out Nicholas Carroll's video previews on EuroFantasyLeague.com as well. Another great one, his most recent one. Not going to say too much about it, just Nicholas Carroll. It's great fun, very informative, and he puts the videos together really nice. As a video geek, I've got to say, he does put those videos together really nicely. So remember to check them out as well. So is there any other business, Dave, or are you fed up with me for now?
I'm fine, happy with the episode, mate.
All right, that's marvellous then. So thank you once again for listening, and we will be back soon. Next week, more than likely, with the La Liga and Serie roundup, and we'll probably do a little bit of an end of season awards thing just from us, just for fun as well. So that's all coming up in the next episode. So until next time, thank you very much for joining me as always, Dave.
Cheers, Jamie.
I know, I appreciate you fitting it in. I know you've got a very busy schedule these days, so that's great work as always, and we'll see you again next time.